Hello, everyone. Lacey Artemis here with a combination of an update vlog and kind of a bit of an extended version of something I posted on TikTok recently. So yeah, I just want to do a quick update to let you know that I know I mentioned in previous videos that I've been a lot more active on Twitch lately. I've kind of got a bit of a schedule figured out that I'm going to try to follow. I'm going to try to do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings, all sort of just after work, and then on the weekends as I'm able to. I've been having a lot of issues with like headaches and migraines lately because I do work from home full time right now, so I'm kind of looking at screens all day, and that doesn't tend to do well for. And that tends to give people headaches and stuff. So that's been making it a little bit more challenging, but I'm going to try to be more consistent with it. And I've been doing games and art and chatting and stuff. And I tried a music stream last night, which kind of learned was maybe not the most ideal thing for me right now. But anyways, I learned a lesson and it was an experiment. But yeah, so if you I know I've not been as active on here lately, and that's been for a variety of reasons. I feel like if I'm going to post stuff to YouTube, it's either got to be just straight from Twitch or it's got to be stuff that I kind of have recorded and edited. And right now, for me, like with TikTok and with other things, like the easiest thing for me to do is to just do like a one take, just stream of consciousness, just record it and just post it. That's what's working for me right now. If I have to try and like do a bunch of editing, then I just don't make content because that's just too much work for me right now with like depression and stuff. Um, so yeah, and I'm finding that just doing the stream of consciousness thing does kind of get me a little bit amped up, which is good. So, yeah, speaking of which, I did post a TikTok, I think yesterday or something about kind of this idea of like temporary extroversion. And in case you don't know, there are introverts, there are extroverts, and there are ambiverts, and you can be kind of anywhere along that spectrum and you can shift through it. Like you don't necessarily have to be one thing your entire life. You can maybe start more introverted and more extroverted, or vice versa, or maybe you're ambiverted your whole life. But yeah, for me, I know that I'm naturally more introverted, but in my adult life, I've become more of an ambivert for a variety of reasons, kind of partly out of necessity. And I've realized through this pandemic and all the lockdowns that we've had here in Ontario, Canada, that I have like it's one thing to choose to be more kind of isolated and have more time to yourself, and it's a different thing when you're forced to. And I'm finding that because I've been forced to be so isolated and only be able to kind of talk to people through the internet for the most part, that has really shifted me, and I have become a lot more extroverted. And so, like talking to friends on the phone or interacting with people online through like Twitch or something, that has been bringing me a lot more like energy and motivation than like I don't just want to sit alone in my room and make art like I used to, because that's just it doesn't appeal right now, because that's kind of like it was nice at first, like, oh, I have all this free time, I'm at home all the time, I can do all this stuff. And so last year I really took advantage of that, and this year, because I kind of thought that we weren't going to be this still in this position at this point. And so now it's like, okay, I've had too much of this now, and like now I want to get out more and I want to see people more and I want to interact more. And I'm pretty confident that once things go back to sort of more of a normal-ish, that I will revert more back to my kind of typical introversion, and I'll be probably spending more time by myself making art. And I'm still trying to do that, but as I said, it's just right now that's I'm always at home, I'm always on my computer kind of. I can go for walks, but that's not as satisfying for me. And so it's challenging, but I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm kind of figuring out how to be a temporary extrovert. It's very different to me, but I'm kind of making it work, I guess. I'm starting to. And so actually I've been finding like, just like yesterday and today I've started, wake up first thing in the morning, and because I'm still a morning person, I still wake up early whether I like it or not. And there's not often a lot of people around to talk to, certainly not a lot of like my friends and local people, because I don't know very many actual morning people, here locally or in my friends groups. So there's people, a lot of the people online are like in the UK or Europe or Australia, and that's not quite the same thing as having like a local friend that you can call, or having like a roommate or partner or somebody or family even. So like I'm waking up at, anywhere between like 4, sometimes even 3, but like anywhere between kind of like 4 and 7 a.m. And I wake up and I'm like, I want to talk to people right away. Like as soon as I'm up, I don't want to just, that's what I want to do. The first thing I want to do is talk to people. It's like, good morning. Anyways, but I haven't really been able to do that, and I've been struggling with that. And so what I've started doing is kind of a bit of a hack for that is I've started recording just kind of video diaries. So this morning I recorded 3 video diaries and just kind of talking about how I felt and what I was thinking about, and just posted them on my Facebook. And I know that my friends are not going to see them for several hours, and they might not even watch them for several more hours. But it made me feel better. Like right now, for me, like typing stuff just feels like, it kind of feels to me like I'm just putting something out into the void. And even though I know eventually people are going to see it, and people are probably going to see the video or the text post at roughly the same time, and they're more likely to read the text post than actually watch the video. But somehow recording things in video form right now is making me feel more seen and heard, and making me feel better. And so with that in mind, it's like, you know what? I should probably take advantage of this. If I'm enjoying talking and just speaking my mind, and even if I know people aren't going to see this right away, um, maybe I should just start recording more stuff for like TikTok and YouTube. And so that's why I'm kind of here. And so again, this may not persist, but because I haven't been as consistent on Twitch, so I haven't been posting as much here, and I want to try to keep this channel a little bit more active and have a little bit more stuff. And I'm not good in concise form anyways. Like TikTok is very challenging for me to try and encapsulate an idea into a minute or less. I'm much more of a longer form kind of thinker and communicator. So recording vlogs is makes more sense for me. And so I kind of have I have an idea of what I want to say, and I just kind of talk through it. Um, so that said, the kind of topic that I wanted to touch on more today is this idea of kind of regrets and choices that we make, and it centers around this question that people will often ask of, like, if you could go back and change one thing in your life, or you could go back and redo one thing, or is there anything, like, what's your biggest regret? And I think just kind of, for most people, I think either they have an answer immediately in mind, or their answer will just be like, no, I don't regret anything because I learned from everything that happened, and I'm happy where I am, and I wouldn't have been here if things hadn't gone that way. Or again, they have a specific example, like, oh, I wouldn't have married this person, or oh, I wouldn't have taken this job, or et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's interesting because, to me, I can look back and I could see the pros and the cons for kind of everything that sort of happened that didn't go the way that I wanted to at the time. Or like, for instance, the main example I keep thinking back of in this context is when I had a job interview at this, it was a video game company, and back, this was about 10 years ago now, something like that. And at that time, that was like my dream job. And it wasn't even as part of like the creative team at this company. It was literally a job to be in the facilities team. So, like, kind of like maintenance, cleaning up, restocking the fridges, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't mind that kind of work. And to me, I saw it as like a foot in the door. And like, I thought of like, okay, well, even if I get this job, I'll do this work. And then, maybe after hours or on breaks or something, I can talk to, the devs or the animators or whoever, the artists, like the music people, and kind of like learn from them. And maybe through that, maybe I can kind of show what I can do and find maybe a way into that. And so at that time, I was like, this is my dream. I would be so happy. I would be surrounded by everything that I love. And, I think that that could have been cool. And maybe if I had gotten that job, I would have seen that, okay, this wasn't what I thought. Because now, looking back and knowing how bad the video game industry is for crunch, and how the employees kind of tend to almost constantly be working like 60 hours a week, and just, it's kind of like an endless cycle, and a lot of people quit or burn out. And I might have, maybe I would have seen that sort of more firsthand from a safe distance of not being part of the actual crunch team. um, and so maybe it would have been like, oh, I dodged a real bullet there. But I didn't get that job, and so I had to kind of move on and keep trying to do the next thing. And I think shortly after that was actually when I started my very first like podcast and blog, which kind of started me on the trajectory of what brought me to where I am today. And I also, being a transgender person, I think there's a lot of times where I think if I'd gotten into certain jobs or certain kind of like that, the video game industry is kind of like technology and stuff. And I know that there are a lot of trans women in kind of like software development and like IT type stuff. It's kind of a trope, but I also know that those industries are very, very sexist and very, very not friendly to women, certainly in general, but also to, gender nonconforming people. And so I wonder if I'd gone down that path, if that job had happened, would that have changed my trajectory? Would I have not eventually transitioned or something? Or I don't know. Again, there's no way to know because that's not how it went. I'm trying to think of what was the other example I was thinking of with this. Um, like another kind of example, like I just got out of a relationship and unfortunately it didn't go the way that I'd hoped, and it was really difficult and painful emotionally, but a lot of lessons were learned, a lot of, valuable perspective and insight and things that I will take with me going forward. And, I'm kind of mostly kind of through that now, still struggling. I mean, anyways, yeah. Um, but so I think, yeah, for me, it's like looking back at when things didn't go the way that I hoped that they would go. I I can look at them one of two ways and be like, oh yeah, I would have, like, if that relationship had worked out, I saw like a really amazing future that I was really excited for. And I still think that would have been a really amazing future. And I still, part of me still, is grieving for that. And like, man, I really wish I could have had that. But now I'm like, okay, but I don't have that. And I have to I have to move forward and I have to kind of go for the next thing. And my future right now feels a little bit more uncertain, partly because of the pandemic and, just a variety of factors. But, if you ask me, do I have regrets? I think I would say that I do kind of regret some things. I regret hurting people sometimes when I didn't mean to. I regret not doing certain things sooner. But again, it's a matter of like learning from it. And I also look back at the things that didn't go the way that I wanted them to. And again, I think like, okay, but if that had gone the way that I wanted it to at the time, where would I have ended up and would I have been as happy? Because also, I think as humans, we're really good at kind of rationalizing things or justifying things. It's like you don't want to admit, sometimes in some cases, we don't want to admit when we maybe made the wrong choice, or that, that we actually were disappointed or something. Like we want to try to like save face, or we want to try to, whatever. And so we'll say like, oh yeah, like we'll make a point to find the positive, or we'll make a point um, to kind of to rationalize or justify that, oh yeah, this was for the best because X. And so I think it depends on your kind of attitude and your mindset of like, do you want to, because I guess what I'm trying to say with this is like, I think we can end up in situations that maybe aren't as ideal, but we can rationalize them to ourselves or justify them to ourselves. Like, if you end up in a bad relationship and you you feel like, no, like I'm doing a lot of things right here. This should be working. And you kind of like, I did this a lot in my relationship. I'll just admit it, that there was a lot of times where I was talking to people about kind of the frustrations and the just things. I was like, man, why is this not work? And I would just kind of say, but this is like, this is good, or, but then this, and just kind of trying to justify things. And then looking back now, I'm like, no, I didn't want to admit that, like, yeah, it was really kind of as bad as it was. And I think that can be the case with jobs, that can be the case with friendships, it can be the case with projects. Like that music stream that I did last night, I thought that was a really cool idea. I was so excited to do it. And it did not go the way that I had hoped it was going to go. And I feel like, to my credit, I kind of tried to push through and be like, no, you know what? I committed to doing this for a couple of hours, and I'm gonna try and see it through and try and make this work. And I kind of had a bit of something going, but I just couldn't quite get it off the runway. And I kind of reached a point where I was like, hey, you know what? I've honestly tried with this, and it's just not working right now. And I'm gonna move on from it. And I part of me is like, okay, maybe that wasn't the right way, but maybe there's another way that I can do that. And I think I just have to be more careful about how I sort of approach certain kinds of things on streams. But I did realize from that streaming, a big part of streaming is talking and engaging your audience. And when I write music, it's a very focused process, and it makes it harder to kind of be able to be more attentive to something else. So I think for me, like, I know that I can do art streams and I can still talk to people in chat. I can play games and still engage with chat. So those are things that I've already seen can work for me and that I enjoyed and that went well. So I can stick to those for the most part. But yeah, just so yeah, I guess that's kind of the point of like I've been thinking about that idea of, regrets and what if things had gone differently? Would I, because I guess again, again, stream of consciousness and ADHD, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but I think that the kind of the idea I wanted to drill down a little bit more, I did touch on it already a bit, was how people can kind of say like that whole idea of like if if X had happened, then I wouldn't be where I am right now, and I'm really happy with where I am right now. And that's kind of was also referring to with the like justifying it. Like we can say like, oh hey, I'm in this great situation, so I'm glad that things didn't work out in the past because otherwise I wouldn't be here. But I think it's also possible for us to be in a situation that we might claim or try to convince people that we're happy with the situation we're in because we don't want to maybe admit in some cases that it's not the best, and we don't want to look like we made a bad judgment call, or we whatever, like any kind of like. So I think it's important to be able to recognize when you have um somebody say like, yeah, you know what, maybe I didn't make the right decision there, or I am disappointed that didn't go this way, or I think I would have been better off. But it's also a sign of kind of maturity and growth to be able to recognize either way of like, either yes, I legitimately am in a good place, or no, okay, I'm not in the best place. I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm happy with this. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to try to like move forward more. So yeah, that's a bunch of different thoughts on that topic, and so I hope that you don't mind this multi-part vlog. I just felt like I wanted to record something and put it up so that people could kind of know what's kind of going on with me, I guess, a little bit more. I think with a lot of us, to kind of go back to, I guess, the beginning with the motivation and depression and everything. uh, I don't know wherever you are. Maybe you're not in lockdown. I know the U.S. is far ahead of Canada at this point with getting people vaccinated. So we've been in lockdown almost nonstop since Boxing Day, since December 26th is when Ontario, Canada, started we started lockdown. It ended sometime, I think, in like mid or late March. And then we were out of it for like 2 weeks, and then we went right back into it. And now we're still going to be in it for like another 2-3 weeks. And that's basically 4 months. That's a third of a year in lockdown where everything's closed, and and through winter and through even the beginning of spring. And so for us here, for me and for a lot of my friends locally, it's taken a really big toll on our mental health because it's not really good for anyone to be stuck home that much and not be able to see their friends and family. And online communication only is just not an adequate replacement. So I'm grateful to have found Twitch, and I'm grateful to have some outlets to be able to connect with people. And I hope that you're finding those too for yourself. Um, but it's definitely been challenging. And again, going through a breakup is part of this. Like, I know it's been hard for both myself and my ex in some of the same and some different ways. And just trying to do my best to kind of move forward and get doing things again. But my talk show is kind of on a bit of hold right now because I've been struggling with the motivation to just reach out to more people. And I mean, I have reached out to people, but I think because everyone is struggling right now, a lot of people just either haven't been responding or just haven't been feeling up to it. And so right now Twitch feels like the thing that I can do, that I can kind of just do it on short notice and people will often be there, or I can record vlogs and put these out. So right now I'm doing what I can, and this is what's working. And so I hope that this has been enjoyable, informative, thought-provoking, maybe feel less alone. And feel free to leave a comment or question or anything. And yeah, I've been thinking I wanted to try to do some sort of like video journal of some sort like this, maybe once a week. And I know I haven't been doing that yet, but that's kind of something I might like to do, at least kind of for a little while, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope to see you over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Artemis Creates, or on TikTok, Artemis Creates. And that's kind of where I'm sort of doing stuff right now because, like I said, verbally communicating ideas and thoughts and feelings is my jam right now. So that's kind of where you'll find me. And again, I'm just not in a place where I have the energy or the motivation to do a lot of editing. So for now, it's just going to be these like kind of one take things, and it is what it is. And I hope that you enjoy it and appreciate it. And I will see you next time.